5 years ago now, the Midnight Wisps pulled off a miracle. In one of the most iconic moments in Marble League history, the Wisps captured gold in back-to-back events at the best time and jumped from 10th to champions.
Out to a big lead right off the bat. Can anybody fight back? Savage Speeder's going to try it, but it's not going to work. The Midnight Wisps have done it.
This win propelled the team to a new tier of prestige, with high expectations every year. The other two Marble League champions finished in the top 4 of the preceding year, showing that it wasn't a fluke. But problems arose for the Wisps in 2019. Their inconsistency in 2018 worked because, well, everyone was inconsistent. In 2019, where the field was more spread, it did not work out. They finished 10th. And at Marbula 1, where the Wisps received an invite for the inaugural season, they did not perform well, finishing 12th. These last two major events were certainly a down for the team, but 2020 saw a big comeback. After the Aquathlon, an event they won, the Wisps solidified themselves as one of the top 4 contenders for the title. And going into the last event, they were one of 3 that could still win it. The permutations were against them for sure, but there was still light, and you don't have to tell the Wisps how to pull off a miracle. And at one point, they had the championship. On lap 10, they had the title won if they held on to that lead. But they didn't hold on. In fact, this moment right here is where the downfall begins. The Midnight Wisps kept dropping, from going to 4th, then to 5th, then finding themselves in 7th, until they eventually finished in 8th. In just one event, the Midnight Wisps slipped from championship contenders to not even making the podium. Final placements are always based on context though. In reality, 4th place is great for them, especially how the last 2 major events went. But of course, the news never reports positivity. All they mentioned was how the Wisps let a milestone moment slip past them. All of this talk took its toll the most on the marble that was in that marathon, Waspy. For a time after the Marble League, Waspy spent time away from the spotlight. They even stayed away for the first week back of practice. The coach wanted to instill some confidence back into Waspy by once again choosing the marble to represent the team in Marbula 1, saying, quote, "I'm not letting one event define Waspy." But Marbula 1 didn't start off well for Waspy. Their first 5 races went like this. Yeah. But at their 6th race, Waspy did get a first place. However, they failed to qualify at the very next race, perhaps insisting that this one race and one little light was a fluke. Season 2 was a blunder for the Wisps. They finished 9th overall. Even despite becoming the first ever marble to go from last to first in a race, Waspy seemingly forgot all about that performance, saying, quote, "It was basically garbage time." Morale was at an all-time low for the Wisps, but the worst is yet to come. Marble League 2021 is upon us. The Wisps must qualify since they missed out on the podium. By this time, the Wisps were up there with the Orangers, Raspberry Racers, Mellow Yellow, and Savage Speeders as teams people thought were basically guaranteed to qualify. This year's qualifying was a bit different, as it mirrored the 2018 version where they were groups instead of one big field. The Wisps barely made it out that last time. This time around, they continued to struggle to qualify. Disaster struck when the Wisps got second to last in the second event, courtesy of, well, Waspy, further taking a toll on the marble. They put it together in the penultimate event, scoring a silver, which plotted them 7th, just one spot away from qualifying. It would all come down to Wispy, who was not afraid of the big moments. Wispy did well, getting 4th place, especially after being well down in the early goings. But a team they were tied with in the Gliding Glaciers did better. The Wisps were knocked out of the qualifiers. The Midnight Wisp fanbase is a passionate bunch, but sometimes passion leads to extremities. The fans rioted. A team like the Midnight Wisps, a former champion not qualifying, that is unheard of, and the fans let their voices be heard. The manager commented on the event saying, quote, "They're expressing their frustrations. We don't condone their actions, but it's how we're all feeling. This is a huge disappointment for our franchise." Everything calmed down, of course, but the anger and pressure stayed. Now thankfully, the Wisps made it out of the showdown. A journalist joked that a war might have started had the Wisps not made it, but they did. They had a little scare when Waspy got 11th, but they made it out. Now, speaking of Waspy, this marble had been deteriorating in confidence and passion for a while now. The win at Palette Park was lost in a sea of disappointment, and of course, will always pale in comparison to that one time at the marathon where Waspy could have done what Wispy did in 2018 and win it all. When the Wisps were once again invited to Season 3 of Marbula 1, Waspy didn't wait for the coach to make a decision on whether we'll see a return of the previous 2 seasons' duo. They made that decision themselves when they pulled out of the competition. Waspy didn't make a comment, and the coach said, quote, "I wanted to include Waspy's opinion. Obviously, if they weren't feeling competitive and didn't feel confident to compete, then I didn't want to send them. Instead, Waspy will join Captain Wispy in the upcoming season." No one knows for sure why Waspy pulled out. Burnout was at the top of speculation. They competed in 15 individual events in 2020 and 2021, with results that weren't very special. Some speculated that Waspy may be retiring, but Captain Wispy shut that down. Nevertheless, a new season of Marbula 1 was upon us. The replacement Waspy couldn't do much better than Waspy, and ended their season all the way in 38th in the individual standings. With Wispy not offering much more, it was another disappointing year for the Midnight Wisps. But this year, they hit an even lower low, as the Wisps were now in last. The first time they've ever been last in a major competition. It's been 3 straight majors now, where the Wisps put up duds. A team that was once here was now here. Marble League 2022 looked like it was going to be better. Who else but Wispy to capture a first-place victory to punch the Wisps' ticket to the Marble League as the top team?
Wisps, they cruise down into the sand portion, trying to make a go at it. The Limers are getting blocked back there. Savage Speeders also weaving back and forth. Into the water they come. Savage Speeders get by, but then bump Midnight Wisps across the line.
It looked like the Wisps may be back, but it was not meant to be. The Wisps finished in 15th, their worst ever finish at the Marble League. The Wisps didn't even excel in the event they've mastered in block pushing. They placed 10th. There was an 8-event stretch where they only scored 22 points. Captain Wispy spoke after the final event, saying, quote, "Sometimes you have to be at your lowest low before going to the highs. We know that good things come to those who wait. Look at the Pinkies and how they performed this year. That can be us too. We just have to stay positive and treat this year as a stepping stone." The team was fully preparing for Marbula 1 Season 4, with the team even revealing the upcoming roster for the new season. But one by one, teams were invited to the new season, and the Wisps never saw their names. A former champion from Marble League or Marbula 1 had never received this type of treatment before. There was outrage from the manager Willow towards the invite committee, but nonetheless, the Wisps would not be competing in Season 4. That brings us to the present day. Where do the Wisps go from here? The Oceanics coach was fired mid-season after a couple of bad events. For Coach Wispy, it's been a couple of bad years. People are wanting to know, why hasn't Wispy been fired yet? They've also kept the same team these last few years. The media was speculating that the team was, quote, stuck in 2018 with no intention on rebuilding. Marble League 2023 qualifiers will be next for the Midnight Wisps. There has been no official word on if they will switch up the roster or front office. It's looking like the Wisps will roll out the same squad as these last few years. Will it be another downer? Or can the Wisps prove that they still have it? For now, it's all speculation. For now, Wisps fans all around the world are still left frustrated, and for now, the Wisps themselves are left training, trying to recapture lightning in a bottle.